I've found my foil here because I've also now got someone who texts me and sends me voicemails and stuff like that now every day. And yourself,
the way my brain works.
Mate, I do as well. I just get like verbal diarrhea on, so just text diarrhea. My brain just empties all these ideas out in one hit. My job now is, and you're probably better at this than me, is just keeping track of it all, like making sure I get it down on paper or get it down on something. Like I've started scribing it into notes now, just speaking into notes. I've just got loads of them.
I'm actually saying to ChatGPT this morning, like, I need to sort this out now. It's nuts. I've got far too many threads. I don't know what's going where. I need to try and condense.
ChatGPT going to get back to you and go, listen, just wind your neck in for a sec there, Greg, will you? Have you had much feedback since? I know you said to me a couple of people.
I've got my mate Chalky, who I did a lot of work with Scottish FA. He was driving to Dalgety Bay tonight back home to do a coach development event, and he said, I've been listening to it. He says it's great. It's just like having you back in the car with me. And then I got another voice note there from Chris Adams. Chris is the head of coach education for New South Wales out in Australia. So he's like, I got a lot from that. So it's brilliant. A lot of lovely text, to be honest. Quite overwhelming, to be honest. Some of the people that are getting in touch that I've not spoke to in months, years, and they're saying, Greg, that was so good. I got a lot from it. So it's interesting. Podcasts are interesting. You just don't know who's listening.
Welcome to the Crossing the Pond podcast, hosted by me, Gary Adair, where each week our guests will recount their own experiences of resilience and transformation, whether it's moving to a new country, tackling health challenges, changing careers, or breaking through personal barriers.
We welcome Greig Paterson back to the show this week. 6 months on from his move to the US with his wife and children, Greig takes the opportunity to further expand on his soccer journey that has brought him to this point, and he also reflects on what his first 6 months in the US looked like, both on and off the field. From the highs to the lows to the day-to-day challenges that any family would encounter after making a move 6,000 miles from home. It isn't as linear as you think it is, or as people might think it is, right? I mean, everyone looks at the Scottish FA stuff and the Irish FA stuff and they think, right, well, yeah, that's Greig, that's what he's about, but it's not the case, is it? I mean, I didn't even realise, and it kind of came up in the conversation, you went to uni over here for a semester or two, no, for a year, right?
Yeah, Clemson. And that's, again, we spoke about my career, and I think I said during the last podcast, I went to Clemson in 1998. We'll come back to that, and we never ever did come back to that, because that's part of my journey and the reason why I crossed the pond. Back to your podcast name and what you're maybe trying to get from it. So yeah, it wasn't just a semester, mate. It was my full academic year, my third year. I came over to Clemson University in South Carolina, which was just.
Did you play, or was it just?
Yeah, so played that season, and then Trevor Adair was the coach at the time. And Trevor, we couldn't find a match. Just could not find a match for my fourth year. And I wanted to do honours. I said in the last podcast I was quite academic, and I wanted to finish my honours year, and we just couldn't find, between the two universities, they couldn't find a match where they could stand over awarding me that kind of honours degree, if you like. So back home, and I was gutted. I was gutted at the time, but obviously enjoyed my honours year back home. But I was gutted because I really enjoyed that experience. So I remember phoning my dad, because they used to talk about walk-ons. And all of a sudden I was this walk-on, and then all of a sudden I'm flying to LA for a kind of like a pre-season tournament. And I'm just going, wow. I'm flying to LA and I'm kicking about the museums and everything in LA with the boys during downtime, and I just think it was almost like I'd played reserve team football back home. I kind of aligned it to that level. I thought it was. Another thing I got from it, well, in terms of a playing background, was at that time Clemson were, I think, in the Sweet 16, and Trevor, the coach, had said to me, because I was this walk-on, he said, Greg, I've got boys in the state select team, they're not going. I'm not sending them to the state select team because I don't want them getting injured, I don't want overuse, etc., because he was doing so well and he was in the final 16 for the nation or whatever it was.
Yeah.
But he sent me, and all of a sudden I'm in Florida, just like you mentioned earlier. I'm in Florida at this state select tournament, just not knowing any of the boys at all, not knowing any of their backgrounds, and just been part of that squad as well, because the state select team had done well to get to these finals or whatever it was as well in Florida. So just incredible experiences, mate, to look back on. That you're just, that way you kind of, I always used to use this analogy in coach education courses. You start the treadmill, you jump on the treadmill, the tutors press play on that treadmill, don't they? Or they press start on that treadmill. And you've got to stay on it. Otherwise you fail. And my experience, if you come off that treadmill, you're very, very unlikely to get back on the treadmill.
Yeah.
So the treadmill on this instance of going to Clemson was just literally arriving in Clemson. I remember actually phoning home at one point saying, I don't want to be here. But anyway, that's another story. Then you go to training, then you're this walk on, then you're in a state select tournament, and you're just on this treadmill, and then you're flying to LA, and then you're going all over the bloody place to play.
How does the treadmill start? Like, you talk about that treadmill analogy there. Like, how does that start? You're at uni, so this would be the end of your second year at uni in Strathclyde.
Yeah.
How does it come about that? Because now, I mean, people pay a fortune. Even in England and Ireland and Scotland, people pay a fortune to try and get recruited to come over here and play. Like, how does a lad at Strathclyde Uni just rock up at Clemson, who, ironically, are now one of the top teams in the country and probably were at the time?
Yeah, you're right. Well, I don't think they were at the time, but they definitely now. The work Mike Noonan and Phil Jones do there is incredible. It's a brilliant question. We had a presentation. At the time, there was a twin university kind of relationship between Strathclyde University, where I was, and North Carolina University. So it was all this, come and do your third year, we'll send students there, vice versa. It's just one of these lectures, mate, you go to and you're probably feeling a bit rough from the student union the previous evening, you don't bother. And then I remember sitting and funnily enough, back to John Lonergan, the PH level, sitting in the swimming pool saying, I've made a mistake. I should have done that. I should have went for that. Back to the advisor studies at Strathclyde. Too late, Greg. Too late. I'd have loved to have done that. He says, let me get on the phone, see what happens. The phone rings again, the old Nokia phone would have rang. Greg, we can get you to this, you can go and be a guinea pig. At the time, it was an engineering university. It's engineering students we sent here to Clemson, not sports students. It's not a sports renowned. Now, if that's not sports renowned, bloody hell. Because it's just, what it's like when you get here. 80,000 people turning up to an American football game, 4,000 or 5,000 people at a soccer game, sold out basketball arenas, queuing up for basketball tickets, all part of that student experience that I then experienced. I was told, go and see what it's like, see how you get on, but it might not be great. Bloody hell. We couldn't have been more wrong. It was amazing.
Would you have been the only Scottish fella in South Carolina at that time?
Yeah.
One of a few.
Was I? Yes, I think so.
How's that for you when you first get here then? Because that would have been your first.
So I'll tell you what, you're not bad at this hosting podcast, because that's another good question. I then arrived, where would I have flown to? You get on a flight, you fly to, it wasn't Atlanta, Greensboro, right?
Yeah, Greensboro, yeah. South Carolina.
The closest. You fly into Greensboro, and then I can't remember how I got from Greensboro to the university. 2:00 in the morning, maybe, by the time I got there. And you get shown these student digs, which, by the way, I've been back and seen since. It's just like a shoebox and a tiny room. And it's me and another fella who I've never met in my life before. And you're just shown, there you go, we'll see you in the morning. And I'm just going, see me in the morning? What are you talking about? You've got, it's not en suite, is it? It's just a sink, 2 beds in that one small room, which I can only describe as a cell to people who haven't seen it before. One window. Fella I've never met in my life before who comes and he's lovely and he's a nice young lad and he smiles at me and can't understand a word because he's from deepest, darkest South Carolina. I'm from Scotland. They can't understand a word I'm saying. And then you're up in the morning, you're just going, I can't stay here. I cannot stay here. And then you look at the communal toilets and you just think, my God, what's went on in here the night before? And so that was that kind of welcome to university life, and just thinking, I actually went with a couple of lads to try and rent a place, and it was like, no, Dad, phoning home to my dad and stuff like that. He said, okay, I'll see what we can do. He was obviously asking for more money so we could rent somewhere, but then no, you end up not doing it, and you get on fine again. It's those speed bumps that we spoke about again, isn't it? You go on fine, you don't look back, and then you've got a whole problem of it being a male dormitory and female dormitories all over the place, and it's just bloody hell, it's carnage.
was it like, fucking shit, I've missed the chance here, and that's me back in Scotland now after that first year?
I don't know.
Or were you
No,
happy to go back? Like, were you fuming that you had to go back, or were you in some way were you like,
I
all right,
wasn't fuming at the time because I think Trevor, I had a good honest chat with Trevor, and I think he'd have given me more responsibility with the team. So I was playing a lot with them, and Trevor, to his credit, would always come and watch me and make sure I was doing okay. So there was this kind of exalted type position. So he did try it. Was I pissed off? Yes and no. It's just one of these things. You go back, and then I'm back to John Brown again. You know, John Brown's like, come and play for my amateur team, which I did down in Ayrshire for a couple of years, and then ended up playing with now my brother-in-law, and that's how I met my wife. So things just happen in your life.
yeah, oh yeah, I'm all about the same thing. Same thing with me as well. Like just being in places at the same time. Like,
Yeah.
do you think that's what's like, to go back a little bit to the old podcast, and for the people who've only just listened to this one, they've definitely go back and listen to the one now, so you get a bit of context. But like,
Yeah.
have you just been someone to roll with the punches? Because, you know, or roll with the knocks and roll with the speed bumps and this, that, and the other. Because like you've just said then, and I say this now to a lot of people in the classroom teaching, and just when you talk about relationships and connections, like, yeah, all right, you might get knocked back and it might be something different, but there's something else around the corner and you don't know what that something else could be. And obviously you've got to be smart enough to judge whether it's a sensible thing or not, but there's always going to be something else. There's wherever you land. Like I say this all the time and kids take the piss out of me. I always say, be where your feet are. Like the lads on the team last year, they're like, oh, because they all think I'm thick. So when I actually say something that's quite, you know,
Profound.
yeah, profound, and it comes across all right. But it's like, be where your feet are. Okay, this didn't work out for you. I'm going to go here, and I'm going to go back and work with a guy who I had a good relationship with, and everything else unfolds from there. You just sort of do the right thing as best you can wherever you are.
Right, but I don't think I consciously thought about it like that. But now I'm in the role I'm in, or was in the role that I was in. I think you do, and you try and preach exactly what you've said. A story that jumps into my head was, I don't necessarily need to tell you the shit show we encountered, but we did encounter a bit of a shit show with the Scottish FA. And I remember turning to, again, my gaffer Andy at the time, and I remember saying, we'll come out this a hell of a lot better. In fact, I don't need to talk about the shit show. There was a second time it happened, and it was COVID. And I remember saying to him, you know, he pulled me into the office and said, Greg, we're going to have to close this office down. I don't know what's going to happen with Coach Ed. Our head of medical services, he was talking about 3 months at the time. So we had a vague idea. He says, you can't deliver Coach education anymore. I don't know what's going to happen. And I turned to him and I said, we'll come out this much better. And then sure enough, we did. So I suppose I've always had that. It's growth mindsets, isn't it?
You think you only really recognise what's going on after the fact, and you just, you know, you're present, you're in the moment, you're working your way through it, and then after the fact you go, that's a bit mental, wasn't it? Or like, I did well to get through that, and you give yourself a little bit of a pat on the back because of it.
Yes, but I think there's other people that can't get over that speed bump, and that's what we talked about that previously, didn't we? And if you know, so you've either got a growth mindset or a fixed mindset. Is that not the theory? The fixed mindset people who just come up against the block and they can't see the way. Have you ever seen the video of the people on the escalator? And the escalator breaks down,
and they don't move,
and they shout for help. They shout for help rather than just walking up the goddamn escalator. You know, it's a bit like that, isn't it? So I think you've just got to find a way. And I think that's what you're crossing the pond and having listened to a couple of previous podcasts. I think that's what you're all about, I think, mate, from what I've heard from your podcasts.
I don't give myself enough credit sometimes, but people need to give themselves credit sometimes, I think, for just getting past stuff like that. So, like, you know, and I suppose I'm trying to bring it back to the point that you were making there. Like, you come back from Clemson, you finish, you do one more year at uni, and then you graduate. Yeah. So that would have been 2000, I think you said to me.
Yeah, that's
something
right.
Like
that. We graduated in 1999 because I celebrated 2000 in Sydney Harbour. I remember being.
Yeah. So what caused you to move to Australia?
Somewhere else to try and go and coach, somewhere else to try and go and experience another way of life. I've always loved travelling. I've always loved sunshine. My dad phoned me earlier on today, just go, you've made the right decision, son. It's grim here. It's dark already at 4 o'clock. I'm out walking the dog and I'm freezing. I've always liked the better weather. Australia was another vehicle. I had long lost cousins that were in Adelaide at the time playing. I don't know why. I don't know if there was any ever conscious decision. So when I graduated, I then went to Morristown, New Jersey, and worked for United Soccer Academy
Is
for
this
that entire.
before Australia?
That's before Australia. So I jumped on a flight from New York to Sydney. Yeah.
See, that in itself is mental, isn't it? Like the fact, like, it makes me laugh to think that a former head of education at the Scottish FA and Irish FA worked 3 months in, was it 3 months or 3 weeks?
3 months in Morristown.
Morristown, like with lads who I know over here, you'll have definitely worked with them. But it's just funny.
Yeah.
So again, just to tie it back in, you'd have been 50, 60 lads on a plane story going down to Heathrow or wherever it was and grabbing a ticket off a random.
I can't even remember how that. You're right. I can't even remember how that opportunity came about. I can't even remember how I was on that list of being a summer coach for a United Soccer Academy. I can't remember. But all of a sudden, you're right. I'm in Heathrow. I've flown down from Glasgow. I'm in Heathrow, and you can see pockets of people starting to arrive. And you start piecing things together, thinking, bloody hell, all these people are getting on the same flight to do the exact same thing that I'm doing. And all of a sudden, I'm just a number. And you go out there and you live in an old nunnery for 3 months in Morristown.
And you're right back to where you started, aren't you? Like when you talk about Clemson getting fired into a room with a lad who you don't know. Yeah. I can remember vividly the day that I got here, and same thing, 2003 it would have been, chucked on a bus, and it was a girls' school out. Obviously, there was no girls there at the time because it was the summer, but like we just got chucked in the dorms, me and this lad, and his name was, like, I still remember the kid's name. He was an African lad. Ajabaya Acker, his name was, massive, right? So he was like, I'm on the bottom bunk. I was like, yeah, no problem. So I just jumped on the top.
Thank God.
I know, yeah. Can you imagine? And then, but that was it. And I just remember going, I don't know anybody here. And I don't know what I'm going to do. And then, I mean, I've been here 23 years now, so that they worked out all right. But you strike back in that spot again, aren't you? Like,
I never ever thought it, but you're 100% right. And they've stuck me in another Scottish lad. Because obviously I'm Scottish, I stick Greig and him together, and that's what happens. And then you've got guys along the corridor, don't you, that are older. You've got guys along the corridor that are younger, and you've just got to go on with it.
You'd say you're relatively experienced, especially with the travelling side of it, being over here already. Is that kind of what, you were talking the other day about being in the room with like Malky Mackay and a couple of other people, and just sometimes you've just got to sit back and listen, and you find out you learn a lot more by just taking a step back, and that's an easier way to find your feet? Or did you just sort of put yourself out there really? Don't seem like the type of person that will do that.
No, I've never been like that. And I'm a bit of a zealot for self-development books and stuff, Gary, at times. And sometimes I think I should do more of that. And sometimes I think I'm too reserved about myself and selling myself. But I'm very much like you've just suggested there. So you just look about for 4 or 5 weeks. And then it wasn't until Greg Paterson used to go down and get your shift, your rota, wherever you were getting posted to on the Sunday night or whatever for the following week. And Greg Paterson always soccer squirts or 5 to 8 year olds. And I genuinely think I was the only guy with a B licence, a UEFA B licence at the time. Because all these boys they're just, again, they're finding their way, aren't they? They're finding a way. They're flying over.
I mean, again, ego doesn't seem like a thing for you, just from the brief conversations you've had and chatting backwards and forwards. But like, what does that do for you though? Like, you're on those, is it just be where your feet are? I've been given this soccer squirts or 6-year-olds. I'm just going to do it and see what happens. And
yeah, it's all experiences, isn't it? I'll never forget the kid one Monday morning. Sorry, coach, I'm not great this morning. I've not had my caffeine yet. And I'm thinking, that's, again, back to different societies, different experiences.
Yeah.
A 5-year-old kid in Scotland wouldn't know what caffeine was back in bloody hell. What was that, 1999, 2000? Wouldn't know. So you're just getting all these different experiences. You're trying to make something of yourself, but then all of a sudden you start getting pulled aside. Greg, we might have 8-month contracts. So they're always known as summer contracts and 9-month contracts. Was that right?
Yeah, you were on it. It was a J1 visa, which was basically the summer visa for Camp America and a lot of the other stuff. And then it was a H2 visa, was like a 9-monther. That's how I progressed. J1, H2.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So you start getting talked about in those circles, but then you go back to the nunnery each night after whatever everybody's been coaching during the day, And you hear all these, I just told them I've got a C licence. I don't have a C licence. I'm thinking,
mate, the amount
I've got the B licence.
I
went to knock the door.
I told you, was it me you telling the story the other day? Like, there's that many people over here that have got a black B licence. But I bet it's someone nicked yours and scanned it, and then that's it. Then it's just been flying around. They just etch the numbers, change the numbers every now and again. Telling you, the amount of people over here that swear they have a B licence or a C licence, and they haven't got nothing. Like,
that's showing our age here again, isn't it? What's that? 25, 30 years ago.
Yeah.
Like, it's changed now. You can't get away with it. I'm sure you can't get away with that anymore. But
no, definitely not.
They definitely were getting away with it back then.
But here's the thing as well. Like, you're almost better off working with the 5 and 6 year olds, because, you know, everyone thinks they're like, or what it would have been at the time, it would have been Mourinho, wouldn't it? At the time, maybe Alex Ferguson, something like that. Everyone thinks they're like a budding Alex Ferguson, but you're working with, you know, you're working on a summer camp, mate. Just relax. It's okay.
I know.
You're basically looking after the kids, aren't you, at this point?
Just go and enjoy yourself. And it's good seeing the likes of, who was it now? It's good seeing the likes of Xabi Alonso. He goes back and works with the 17s and the 19s and stuff like that.
Yeah.
You know, in local grassroots teams, just to try and embed stuff during the summer break, which is great. So I think more and more people should do different age groups and different levels of the game, because you just get different experiences. I'm way back to me working with John Brown in East Renfrewshire, and me being so thankful for John just throwing me into it. But, you know, I've done what at the time was an early touches, and it was the E and the D, if you like. You've done your E and your D all those years ago. And then going to that group of 5-year-olds, and a little boy has an accident and pees his pants, and you think, bloody hell, how do I cope with that? And you've got to come up with a way. But all these experiences, I think, they help you on your journey.
Well, that's it again. And I mean, I could bang on about this all day, and I'm sure I did last time as well. But like, these lads that want everything now, you've got to go through the other stuff. I'm convinced. Like, it makes you a better person. Like, I've been teaching now for 11. This is my 11th year teaching after I sort of took it on as full time, and I'm so grateful that I started when I was 35 versus 25, because the amount of absolute good things and bad things that I've seen before I got to teaching of no question have helped me, like, along the way. So
I'd agree.
Do you still keep in touch with anyone from that 3 months?
Like, somebody might pop up now and again on social media or something. So there was these 2 lads who were a little bit older. They used to fly over every summer. They were PE teachers, full-time PE teachers back home. And they basically just flew over for a holiday, some beer money. And they were kind of tasked with this idea of setting up satellite centres for the club,
right,
or for the company. So they just sent me with them. And that was for the next, what would that have been, 2 months. So that was just jumping in hotels, maybe driving 2 hours away rather than 20 minutes away, and just jumping in hotels with those guys, coaching during the day in areas to try and get the brand name out there. And the learning again from those 2 guys who were PE teachers was just fantastic.
Was it? Do you see that as it's just another step of the journey, and you take what you take from it? Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. And you would pick stuff up from people, and, you know, I think a lot of things I took with that. One of the boys I worked with, he was brilliant. He would just get the kids in the morning and say, right, today we're going to talk about, Gary has got a joke about a canoe, a beer, and an ice lolly. And they would put me on the spot with things like that. And I would panic at first. But then that's just all part of the fun, isn't it? You know, and he would just go around the camp like that. And Greg's got a story about a dog and a hammer. He needs to tell you the story, and people would freeze, but the kids don't care. The kids just want to. It's just again, it's being a person rather than the coach or rather than the football player.
It's more about the backwards and forwards than anything else, isn't it? And you don't humanising everybody.
Little things like that. And then the 2 boys from Yorkshire, they were just typical Yorkshire folk. Like, I remember we went to Philadelphia, so we went to the Rocky Steps, up and down the rock, and I'm thinking, this is fantastic. This is just great. Just a set of steps, Greg. All right, okay.
Oh, yeah, proper dower. Well, that's funny, isn't it? You're getting out-dowered by a Yorkshireman.
I know. Imagine that.
The Yorkshireman out-dowering each other. Jesus.
Went for the biggest night store at the time in New York. Wow, look at this. It's just a big shop, Greg. It's just a big sports.
I know. It's so funny that, isn't it? You do come across people like that. So then after 3 months, you went straight to Australia.
So I think that must have all been sorted prior to Yeah, I bought around. I remember I bought. It's funny how you're triggering memories. I bought a round the world ticket. That's right.
Around the world. I didn't even know you could do that.
You could at the time. Shoot finders at the time at the
What was that
university.
then?
Yeah.
I'm just again nosy, but like, what was that? You just say, listen, you can. Could you stop anywhere, or did you have to? Did you say like, I'm going here?
No idea.
That's
No
mad.
idea.
That's mad. So you go to Adelaide? Is that where it was?
Had to pick up my ticket. I had to pick up my ticket in New York for whatever reason. So what would happen, because we were working in Morristown where you are, you would get your paycheck. We would drive the cars as far as we possibly could because they weren't allowed out of the state of New Jersey, or they told us that, probably wisely. We would then all jump on a ferry and spend our weekends in New York. I then picked up my ticket for
Australia.
to fly to Melbourne. It was. I flew to Melbourne.
All right.
Flew to Melbourne. I've never been so jet lagged in all my life. That was ridiculous, that flight. And then I'm off that flight. And it was a girl I was seeing at the time. She had family in Melbourne, so that's why we went out there. She was already out there. I remember phoning her from that nunnery. And she said, do you want to go skiing when you come? I'm going, what do you mean? What do you mean? I'm coming to Australia. She says, but it's a 2-hour drive away from north of Melbourne. We can go skiing. So it was all, again, just more and more experiences. And then, I got working over there.
What was it? Were you working out there? Was it coaching again?
Coaching again. So started working with, mate, there was a, this is mad. I feel so old talking about all this stuff. There was a paper, like a physical paper, the ABSW, Australian and British Soccer Weekly. And Catherine, the girl I was seeing, she got a job lifeguarding. I couldn't swim, so I was never going to be a lifeguard.
That's not going to help you.
I got a job in an Irish boozer and get called an Irish twat half the time. I wouldn't serve people when I wasn't Irish. I got a job in an Irish boozer in the Quiet Man pub in Melbourne. And then I was trying to find my way as this coach. I was trying to get, so I would go and scour this ABSW magazine every week as soon as it came out because it was full of adverts. Mate, this was before social media. This was before.
Just for jobs?
Just for jobs, and there'd be all kinds of jobs in there. I had a UEFA B licence, so I was reasonably, what's the word? I was reasonably competitive, if you like, in the marketplace. Yeah. And I remember going to a club, an old disused stadium. Greg, this is where you'll take the team out. And I'm going, well, what are you talking about? I've just taken the soccer squirts for 3 months. That's my experience. It's not taking a first team. Because of your identity and because of your background over there, and it's still the case, having been back in Australia, it's still the case. Like, you know, a lot of these clubs they're UK clubs or they're Croatian clubs or they're Serbian clubs that have those identities. So this club got a hold of me for kind of this UK background. Big stadium, they wanted to kind of regenerate themselves. And I was like, no, sorry, I can't take that job. That's not me yet. That's not me. As being this kind of first team manager. So that was me. Then I started trying to play a little bit with Essendon Royals, which was good. Enjoyed that, which was the Victorian League. And then it came to, again, they wanted to sign me, and I'm saying, I want to go and travel. I need to see a bit more. So never signed, but they allowed me to train with them, which was brilliant. So trained with them and did a bit of coaching again. But the coaching was just, do you know what it was, mate? It was an old disused airport or aeroplane hangar, and they put a 5-a-side complex in it. And they said, Greg, we need kids in here, we need adults in here, we need people in here, go and do what you need to do to get it up and running.
How was that for you? Because then that's almost like a business thing then, isn't it? Or are you just reaching out?
No, but what I did to do that was, again, back to my conversations that I had with John Brown in my first year back at university. I just started sending flyers or emailing or knocking school doors and saying, listen, we're trying to promote the sport of soccer. But it was for that private company to then try and get the kids to come to after schools classes or holiday programmes or whatever it might have been in that old disused hangar.
Yeah, because it'd be like a big soccer dome, wouldn't it? Or whatever it's called now.
Great idea at the time. And I always said to myself, I'll come back and do that in Scotland. Never did.
It had already been done at that point. I can remember playing in them leagues early 2000s. So with that first team coaching job, was that something that, like, where's that come from? Where you're like, nah, I'm not ready for that yet? Was that more of the confidence thing again, just because you were younger as well and just not putting yourself out there?
Probably, and maybe not thinking I knew the game that well. And I would speak a lot about this in my previous job, Gary, about in recent years with UEFA, there was this huge push towards what they called reality-based coaching. Now, reality-based coaching being, your definition might be slightly different to mine, but mine was always, the reality of what happened in the game on Saturday and reacting to that, or the reality of what's likely to happen, what kind of formation you're playing against, what strengths of the team you're playing against, how are you going to deal with that, rather than just coaching for coaching's sake. But the B license that I did back then, without being critical of it, wasn't about reality-based coaching. It was about pulling a topic out of a hat. So I failed when I was 18 years old. I failed my B license. I did overlaps, and apparently the angles of my overlaps weren't realistic. I never even knew what that meant. I just thought, well, of course. But as I grow now and I learn more about the game, yes, 100%, that was good feedback. So I got twin striker play, and I had to, within that, use across-the-face runs. So between getting that new topic out of hat and sitting that reassessment for my B licence, that's all I concentrated on. That's all I worked on with team after team after team. And it became my speciality almost, but I didn't know the game. I knew across the face runs and I knew twin striker play. And it was good because I was a striker myself, but that was all I knew. So I didn't know the game that well enough to go and take a senior team. But we're back to that one again, aren't we? Others would just go and do it.
Yeah. It's like
And
just having the wherewithal and then figuring it out on the fly. The amount of people that will do it just to do it. And it is, and it is, it's so funny you say that stuff about learning. Like I think about, and there's levels to all of these conversations, but I can remember sessions that I did at 22, 23, that the intensity was there, but the knowledge wasn't quite there. And I would have backed myself, but the knowledge just wasn't there. You're right. And now I look back at it and I'm like, you would never have done it, or you'd have done it this way, or you just know so much more about the game. Yeah. So I can kind of see it. But like you said, I can also see some jackal lad going in going, yeah, no problem, yeah. And then giving it the big licks and telling everyone that he's the head coach of this team.
Correct. I can't even remember now.
So was that year, was it literally job to job, or did you spend a lot of time working? Was it job to job, yeah?
Very much, mate. Here's a story for you. The Metro newspapers, you ever remember them from back home?
Yeah,
you probably read them in New York. But the Metro newspaper was just out. I was giving out the Metro newspaper after my shift. After my shift in the pub, and I heard you talking about this on another podcast, you don't just finish your shift in the pub. You have a couple of pints with your colleagues.
Mm-hmm.
You then go home and get an hour or two sleep. And I was then up handing out this Metro newspaper, which had just been launched in Melbourne. I'm forgetting the name of the main train station. Flinders Street train station. That was me. And finding a way to try and do some coaching hours along the way. That was it. That was it exactly.
Yeah, it's a lot, but it's that again. It's just keeping your head above water, isn't it? Because you're young, aren't you? So you're trying to do everything to keep yourself going and be able to sustain. Because you're still chasing the dream, aren't you? There a little bit with the coaching as well. You still want to do it, but I can. Yeah, I've done some.
Yeah, and you're in a football mad, not a football mad, but you're in a sports mad environment as well. You've got back then. There's a magnificent campus. There's the Rod Laver Arena, and right beside that there's a cricket ground, and right beside that there's the Aussie Rules football ground. It's magnificent, and then you just think there's something will come up, whether it's sports development, something, but it never did. But you're right. You're grafting away in other ways to try and get those bits of experience. And call centre, that was another job that I tried.
Oh, mate, I worked when I was my first year. I had to come back in between visas, and I worked in a online equestrian sales centre. Me and like 30 women. It was great for that, but mate, I was shocking.
You good at it?
Oh, mate, no, because the problem was it was like turnover. So I just start talking to people on the phone, and these people were proper posh as well. Like, because anyone who's buying gear for their horse is posh as far as I'm concerned. Yeah, but like I found one day, I was like, I can't believe no one's phoning. And it turned out I had it on do not call or something for 3 hours, and then got bollocked off the woman. I was only a temp. I didn't get kept on after Boxing Day, I don't think.
I've got a better story, or equally as good. So I wasn't very good either, and I used to walk in and used to get your sheets every day and work your way through your sheets and try. So what I was trying to sell was the privatisation of telephone lines. So it was equivalent of BT. It was Optus at the time, but the equivalent of BT back home, British Telecom, was starting to become privatised, I think, or publicised, whatever it was. So you were getting all these different companies like Sky and whatever else in. So you could now go elsewhere. So it was competitive. Oh, you'd get your call sheets in the morning and you'd work your way through these numbers and you'd just phone up, and I was hopeless. I would maybe get one sale out every sheet, and there was probably 100 numbers on each sheet. And you see these other people going up 10 sales, 20 sales, and I was hopeless. Anyway, keep barting away at things. But then this one day, I said to somebody, "What happened? How come you're so good?" Sometimes you just get a lucky sheet. Somebody in the streets maybe already bought that, and you're getting lucky, and you just get somebody from the street. So I get this sheet, mate, and sale, 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 sale. I'm going, they're right. It's just, they must all be in the same street. Couldn't believe it. Must have made 20, 30 sales. One shift. Next day I get called in. "Greg, can you come and see us?" Yeah, no problem. "Your sales yesterday, we're going to need to take them off you." "Oh, why?" "It's the best day I've ever had." "Why are you taking them off me?" You phoned an old folks home." I've basically, mate, I've phoned an old folks home. The guys have just loved the chat. The old women and the old men have just loved the chat. And I've said, "Yeah, Greg, we'll sign up for it. We'll sign up for it." So I've just phoned all the extensions in this old folks home. And at that point, I just said, "You know what? Enough's enough. I'll go and find something else."
That's cracking. When
Brilliant.
did you talk about that, like you didn't work out in Australia, but you've learned a lot and you've picked up things along the way. Was there a point in Australia where you're like, right, this isn't going to work here. I'm going to cut my losses and I'm going to go back?
Yeah. But I mean, the visa was coming to an end anyway. And I
Right,
think at the
right.
time it was difficult to end that visa. And we came back through Thailand and spent 3 or 4 weeks in Thailand, which was great. And then straight back in. And it was always, I think I timed it to come back for the summer and then back to John Brown and the Scottish FA and player development centres and soccer camps or football camps at the time, doing all that for the summer. And then a job was advertised in Dumfries and Galloway for the Scottish FA down in Dumfries and Galloway, again back to where your brother was for a time. And and getting a football development officer job down there, mate. So yeah, things tied in quite well without setting the heather on fire during the Australian experience.
People have short memories. Like you've done well there with John Brown, has obviously looked out for you, kept out for you, and you've probably kept in touch with him. You finally get back to Scotland. What do you do to start building up your credibility as a coach or as an educator or as a community figure in football?
Yeah.
Like, what do you do there?
A good question. I think the university degree we did, because it was so practical in nature, I think that's what helped me, Gary. I think, they would ask you to, let's say, come up with a marketing program or policy or whatever for a local sports development clinic,
association or whatever. Yeah.
Well, I would always just relate it back to football because of those contacts I'd made with Tony Dock and John and all the other guys in at the Scottish FA at the time. I would just go knock doors and say, "Right, I've got this project to do. Can you help me?" And they would just go, "Yeah, Greg, go for it. You're fine." Because I'd already kind of made my name a little bit, so I just did all those projects round about. Again, it's that reality-based learning, funnily enough. We've kind of went full circle. So it was real life tasks that I was doing. That probably answers your question and the reasons why I was decent at that.
Yeah, and then that's just steamrolled then, and those foundations have been put in place, and you've just built off that as it's gone up.
Yeah.
So I don't want to go through the Scottish FA stuff again because I want to try and get to the US stuff as well. It seems like you've always wet your whistle for US. You came for the year, you enjoyed it at Clemson. You did 3 months, you enjoyed it up here, albeit very different.
Very different.
You've gone from being in a college environment and football and studying to, getting chucked in a hotel somewhere or working with the general public or just plonked in the suburbs, whatever it is. Was there many interactions during your time with the Scottish and Irish FAs that sort of just every now and again thinking about it, pique your interest again about the US? Or was there ever something like, I'll get to this point and you know what, maybe I'll look at US opportunities? Or was it just something that fell in your lap more than anything else?
I don't believe things fall in your lap. I think you've, what's your phrase? You've got to be where your feet are or whatever. I'm not a great believer in luck. I think you make your own luck, and I think that hard work and endeavour that we spoke about before helps that luck, what people perceive as luck. But luck's where opportunity and hard work meet. That's my thing. So you make your own opportunity through that hard work. So to try and answer your question, I think, so if I think back to Ireland, and I remember boys leaving every year to go to the USC convention, and they would come back raving about it. And then all of a sudden, you're starting to put people on a B licence or an A licence who then disappear. And I'm the one that's then writing the O1 visa or the J1 visa recommendations,
Yeah.
and the support letters. And then by the time I get to Scotland, Jim Fleet and Donald Parker I spoke about, they're continuing to go to the USC convention. And then all of a sudden I'm going to the USC convention. And then that kind of business head, if you like, I start thinking the amount of Scottish people, the amount of letters I'm writing, there must be tons and tons of people out here. And there are. So then I then start thinking, well, we need to look after these people. And the world starts becoming smaller as social media grows and people want support. But then it's like, they're out in America, that's their doing. But it's not, because they're still Irish coaches or they're still Scottish coaches. So I felt we had a
service,
need,
like a Jewish service. Like you had to give them a service, provide a service.
And then as we spoke about the B licenses 30 years ago that you could forge, you can't forge them anymore and you must do CPD. So UEFA brought in this ruling that you must do 15 hours of CPD every 3 years to keep your license active. So then all of a sudden people are making more and more contact. So then all of a sudden, and that whole thing just kind of snowballs. And then back to the travel companies we mentioned earlier. The travel companies want to bring over coaches to Scotland to do C licenses themselves. So the whole thing just starts snowballing. You start to build up this massive network of people that puts you in that whole, I suppose, environment of directors of coaching, massive grassroots clubs, USL clubs, MLS clubs, etc.
Well, and it's interesting, isn't it? I think that when I think back to 2003, and I think about when I was at uni in Preston, and talk about like there's so many sliding doors moments I can think of, because I ballsed up my second year at uni, and I was just going to jack it. And I was coaching in the community at Wigan at the time, I think, and I was doing a few bits and bobs. And our old professor, he's a Scottish fellow actually, Dave Shaw, is professor of sports psychology at Preston University. And he said to me, listen, lad, he goes, you carry on, you get yourself a visa, you don't know where it's going to take you, it might get you something, or you can just go and get a 12 grand a year job doing nothing. And I was like, I took his advice and I went back to uni, finished the degree, and the degree ended up getting me the visa over here long term. But I think I find that US used to be such a bridge. It was almost a bridge too far because it was different and it was a different place. But nowadays, like you said, it's nothing to talk. Just like me doing this podcast, mate. And again, I'm not even trying to sound like flowery and romantic. I know you love all that, but like I'm having a conversation, like just to put it in perspective, I'm having a conversation with the former head of education at the Scottish FA, which I would have never have done. Like, even though I might have bumped across you and gone hello at the convention, but you and I now are there's a dialogue. Like, I've spoke to different people in different environments, like Emmy Award winning people and all sorts, just because of doing something like this. I feel like the world is a smaller place now. And I think it is like a sort of, what's that word? It's like I can't even think about it. You've got so much on your doorstep without even thinking about it now.
Malcolm Mackay, who's a wonderful friend and mentor of mine, he would always say that to me, and I would never get it. He said, Greg, the position you've been in, that head of coach education for the Scottish FA, head of coach education for FA, he said the experiences you've gained and everything through that, you need to put yourself up in this pedestal a little bit. And I would always say, I don't see it, but then you start seeing people and you can tell they're a little bit uncomfortable in your presence. It's because you can essentially say pass or fail or determine whether or not they got on a course or whatever, which I just thought was crazy. But you're right. It's just who you meet along the way is so important.
And I find
so important.
It's like, if just by putting yourself and being open to, like in your case, right, being open to this. Well, what's this USC convention and why am I not involved? And just being open to going and make that step, or go and have a conversation with someone, because listen, it might not help you in the immediate, but 2, 3, 4, 5 years down the line, you might be having a conversation with that guy that might end up getting you a role, which is kind of what's happened now, right? I think
it is what's happened now. And just funnily enough, just before I even came on this, because I've not spoke to him in a few weeks, I'm in a group chat with him, and you know the old group chats, you send a couple of funny texts, but was Ian Barker, who was the director of coaching for United Soccer Coaches for years and years. So I just dropped Ian a text to see how he's doing, and I've not spoke to him for a while. But again, the relationship we built with Ian through the Scottish FA was fantastic. And then I meet Andrew Donnery, and Ian and Andrew Donnery are working together on a master coach coaching course called the USC Master Coach Course. You've probably heard it.
I got on it but then I had to leave because I couldn't afford to do it. No, mate, listen, all jokes aside, I'd just finished my Premier and did really well with it. I can't remember who it might have been Mike Noonan, might have been my Premier diploma guy. Yeah, years ago. Like I did it in 2009, and I applied for the master course basically off the back of it because I got some good feedback, and I started it, and I just couldn't afford it. And that was at the stage where I had no money, and I was trying to make ends meet, and I just couldn't do it. So I had to default and come off the course. Yeah, but cracking course, but.
I think it kind of lost its way a little bit, and then it was Ian Barker. So Ian Barker, Andrew Donnery came up with this idea of let's speak to Greig, because we had a relationship through Ian Donnelly about including the Scottish FAC licence or the UEFA C licence or the Scottish FAC licence certainly on the Master Coach course.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden, the Master Coach course wasn't just about doing that reality-based project. There was this C licence bolted on as well. And all of a sudden, we were bringing coaches over as part of that. And then I'll never forget it. I remember I just hit it off with Andrew. I mentioned Andrew obviously because he's the CEO of Elk Grove and the reason I'm sitting chatting to you now.
Mm-hmm.
But I remember just hitting it off with Andrew straight away. He said something laughing and joking. You should get yourself to the US. I'm going, are you serious? I'm there. And then I'm pulling him aside and we'd sit in this little office. And he said, I can only offer you X. You're worth more than X. I can't give you more than X. It's all I can give you. If you can go and do a second job or whatever when you're out here, you'll find a way, you'll love it. At the time, my wife didn't want to move with a dog as well. And then you've got a dog as well, mate, again, kindred spirits. But that's how it happened. And then all of a sudden, last summer, we're out helping deliver a Scottish FAC licence at Elk Grove Soccer. And Andrew was clever, Bring the family as well, Greg.
Smart man.
Bring the family as well.
Once they see it.
Yeah. And that was it.
Yeah.
That was it. And he rolled out the red carpet and, took the kids for ice creams every night. Took us to Six Flags. You're out jumping off a boat in the middle of August and just...
Yeah, it's ridiculous. It's hard to turn down, isn't it? It's hard to turn. Like, we're going to get to this thing and this analogy that we talked about the other day about ladders. But I always say the one thing to people is like, you not kind of understanding how impactful your role could be. Just because from pure, call it humility, call it just, being daft as a brush and not realising, or whatever it is. Like, what's the importance of being nice to people and giving a good account of yourself on the way up, or because that person's either going to catch you up to your level or you're going to see them at some other point?
Huge, mate. And people would always talk about it when I was coming through the Scottish FA and it would happen. Like, you would never know who's going to walk through those swing doors. And you might be, I'm talking about the cleanliness, I'm old-fashioned again. I'll not bother having a shave this morning, but then all of a sudden, whoever it is, Craig Brown walks in the building or Ali McLeish, and they kind of frown at that almost. It's just so important how you manage yourself on a day-to-day basis, because you don't know. We've talked a lot about sliding doors. I'm talking about swing doors now, but you never know who you're going to bump into and the frame of mind you need to be in and different things. And I think I said that in the last, but I've maybe mellowed a little bit and realised that a little bit more. Why, I don't know. And to this day, I don't know why Andrew's invested so much in me and my family to bring us over here.
That's you being daft as a brush again, isn't it?
Probably. And Vicky, my wife, says that to me. Absolutely. She says, Greg, have you realised what you've done in your career? And Andrew says that, to be fair, as well. He says a lot of people over here will talk a good game, and he always says, but have you done it? Have you done it in a proper football environment? And he says, you have. And a lot of people say they're that good, but can you go home and do it?
Can you do it? Can you go anywhere and do it? Do you think that's just a cultural, environmental thing from back home?
I think it's a cultural thing, mate. I do. I look at my dad as well, who had his own business, and he just worked hard. He just worked hard. I don't think my dad, without doing well, has any special attributes, but he's managed to retire, sell his company, and did very well just through sheer bloody mindedness and hard work. I think it's a West of Scotland thing. I think when you start hearing the likes, Alex Ferguson talks about it a lot as well. That whole building steel mining industry where it was just hard work and people making a success and a go of things through that bloody mindedness, as I call it, and just, no, this is the way I'm going. And you keep at it and you keep at it and you keep at it. And maybe from just keeping at it, you don't realise just maybe how good you are.
Yeah, I know. We've got to do a better. I think people have to do a better job of. Again, it's not blowing smoke up people's asses. It's just about recognising that if someone does do something well, it's worth noting.
Yeah, 100%. But is it not great over here? Again, there's that
Well,
yin
that's
and
the
yang.
thing over here. Like, I mean, but it's. I find it that people over here, especially expats, most of them anyway, have got that mindset because when they came here, I mean, and you can talk to this as well. Like whether it's through Clemson or the USA stuff, or even now, like people will appreciate what you've done. People will listen to you. People will give you a bit of a G up, won't they? Do you know?
Yes and no.
Go
Yeah,
on.
well, because no, the parents I've now got in my team, they don't know what a head of coach education's been. They don't see that. They don't get that. They just get this guy. He's another guy that's come across and is working in the same club as all the other guys with the funny accents, I think.
Yeah, true. I'm thinking about, like, if someone says something over here, you've got people around you that'll go, that's a good idea. Whereas back home, they'll go, nah.
Yeah. So one of my first emails I sent out about coordination of future stars, coordination of 5, 6, 7-year-old kids. Wow, Greg, what an inspiring email. Thank you very much. Back home, they think they're taking a piss. So you get an email like that back home, they're taking a piss, but they're genuinely being nice. Greg, that was a lovely email. That's so inspiring. They're taking a piss, mate.
Yeah, well, I know you'll be like, come on. There'll be one Scottish fella in Elk Grove going, he's having a laugh here.
Yeah, correct. But they're not. You're right. There is that. Yeah, there's a general, and even recently I said as well. I said, bloody hell, the under 16s maybe struggled the last couple of games. Have had 2 defeats. All other teams are doing well, and I'm thinking. I said to someone, they've maybe been overperforming, and he says, of course they've been overperforming. They've got the head of Scottish FA looking after them. And again, it's like, you taking the piss. But they're not. They're not. They've been nice. They've been nice, and they're recognising it.
It's one thing to come here and be wined and dined and going on boats and kids are having a laugh and it's a holiday, right? What's the actual act of coming here as a family with visas and coming in here and this is what we're doing now? Like, how has that been since May, since you got here?
And that's this whole, we're back crossing the pond podcast, aren't we? But it's not as easy as people make out.
No.
I don't know why. I'll pause slightly. So Donald Gillis was the head of girls and women's football in Scotland with us. Donald Gillis went to work with Colorado Rapids. Donald Gillis has got 4 kids. I've got 3.
No telly.
Donald's back though. He's now head of the women's game at Rangers and back in Glasgow because he got to a point where he's looking at the 4 kids getting to university age and he's just thinking, we're bankrupt him, We're bankrupt. So he's back. So I'm fast forwarding here, but he's at that pitfall. If you take the pitfalls we've had along the way, think, mate, it's just like visas. It winds me up that my wife and my kids don't have the same grounding in the country as I have. I've got this O1 visa. They've got an O3 visa. I've got a social security number now. They don't. I've got a bank account. They can't get a bank account. Just silly stuff.
How does that affect your missus? Because she's
not allowed to work, yeah. She's not allowed to work.
Identity-wise, like just anything. She's sound.
You've got 3 young kids though, and you need a bit of financial help. You need to get out the house. But part of this is I have been at home more than I would have. I worked from home a lot in my previous job, but I also travelled a lot. But the travel's not as, I don't know, it's not as sporadic or it's not as condensed. One of the two, I'm not sure which yet. But I'm at home more, so that's a nice thing. But we're still in that settling phase, mate, where DIY's needing done around the house and different things. But even the house purchase, try to get credit. Andrew introduced me to a guy in San Francisco who's a genius with numbers, a genius with mortgage broking, etc. He managed to find a mortgage product where I think I'm paying about 1.5% higher in a mortgage rate than anyone else in the country because we don't have a credit rate. We basically don't exist. It's almost as if you've landed from Mars and you've got to start from scratch again.
Oh, Greg,
you've got to start that credit rating again.
I say the same thing. Listen, I've never worked in the UK while I was in uni, so basically on student taxes. If I went back home now, it'd be like coming out of prison. Like, I don't know. Like, I haven't got a financial footprint. I've got a bank account still. I've managed to salvage my bank account from way back. And thankfully,
Super Savers, was that a Super Savers account?
Mate, honest to God, like Halifax current account from like 97. Honest to God, that's it. Oh, that's all I've got. And so I haven't paid into national insurance or anything like that, a pension or anything. Like, you can
That's
buy.
crazy. If you start thinking then about later life,
Oh, yeah.
and I don't know what you want to do, mate, but if you want to go and retire back home and be around family and whatever else back home, there's no pension there, because you've not been contributing towards that pension.
I would get Social
But your
Security.
accent's as broad as the guy beside you.
Well, that's the mad thing, isn't it? I know. Well, that's it.
Yeah.
So my wife. So we technically have a flat now down south, which would probably, if we sold that, we could probably buy a row of houses in Wigan. But like, I don't know. Like, that's the thing. Like, it's going back, and I can remember when I first came over here, and it was the whole thing was trying to get credit so you could get something else. And even the hardest thing to get for me, but the one thing that really broke down the sort of the wall, was getting a driving license. As soon as I got a driving license, everything starts to open up. You start getting letters in the post like, do you want this credit card? Do you want that credit card? And I remember having like I can't even remember, it was a Capital One credit card, and it had $200 worth of credit on it. And that was it, chipping away. But it was hard for the first couple of years trying to you couldn't get a rental because you didn't have credit, but you couldn't get credit because you didn't have it was just painful.
Yeah. So people say, why don't you rent? And you can't rent because you don't have credit. So it was actually easier. We sold everything. We sold everything at home, mate, and arrived with 10 bags. 5 of us, 2 bags each. That was it. You're starting again. And you know what? You're shaking your head, but there's something quite nice about it. There was something quite cathartic about it. You know what garages get like? You know what attics get like? You know what spare rooms get like? They were just... Vicky and I are saying to each other, why have we accumulated all this stuff? And a lot of it was stuff. Buy a book in minimalism. There you go. You should buy a book in minimalism.
Oh, mate, listen, trust me.
Look at the amount of stuff you've got behind you.
You know what's funny as well, though? I was looking at the other day. I've lived in America for 22 years. I've lived at 14 different addresses in 22 years. So you're talking about minimalism. I could go now with a bag and I'm gone. Like, there's no trace. A couple of tellies and a bag. Yeah, but that's about it. But yeah, you're right. I mean, it is something. We've just sold our place and we're in a rental at the moment. But the amount of shite we got rid of, it is quite good. Like you say, it's very cathartic.
So that was us, mate. We arrived and managed to get the mortgage eventually. But I can't wait until we've got a credit rating and we can actually reduce that mortgage by quite a distance. I
was laughing at you one the other day. One of your voice notes was, I can't believe I want to get a car, 25 grand for a car, and I can only get a 2 grand loan.
Yeah. So what's the point? What's the point? You're looking at a car for, I mean, what's that? 97%. You've got to put 97% of the car down.
Perfect.
To get 3% credit. It's unreal.
It's unbelievable.
And then even then, what would that be? Over 5 years, $10 a month for 5 years. It's not even worth it.
It's not worth it, is it? What's the family dynamic like now? Like the age of your kids, are they okay? Are they adapting so far? Is it still just one big holiday, or are they starting to realise?
Well, no, because the kids started school, didn't they? And there's a track system here. Do you do track systems where you are?
What's that?
There's a track system here. I don't know if it's an Elk Grove thing because Elk Grove's so densely populated now with schools, but there's a track system here. So there is only one track, if you like, back home. You go to school from August through to June, and that's it. You're done. You've got July and half of August off. But here there's a track system, so we register our youngest Zach in school, and okay, he'll be on B track. What does that mean? Well, he starts in July, but then he's off for a month in September, and then he's back into Thanksgiving, and then he gets December off, and then he's back. But so there's 4 tracks, mate. There's the A track to the D track, and then there's the traditional track. So this is a year-round school, and they're determined by the track. So
have all your kids on the same track?
No, my twins, they're on a traditional track that we would know from back home. Zach's on a different track, but then you're asking how they settle. So Vicky and I straight away we put in an appeal. No, this isn't good. Big upheaval from Scotland. Blah 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 blah. No, he needs to go on this B track. It's the only space we've got in the school. Okay, can we appeal? Yes. As soon as somebody drops out, we'll get him in. He's now saying, no, I've got friends. I'm happy. I'm not moving. But we've not had that full cycle of a year yet to work out when Caleb and Lois will be in and when Zach will be in. So it's all different, mate. But they're all fine, thanks. They're all good. They're all enjoying school and different things like that. Caleb maybe a bit different because he's football-wise, just the way birth dates work with soccer and the way birth dates work with schooling, he's finding a lot of his pals are the year above him.
Right. Well, that's
So
going to
he's
change
feeling a
back
bit
now, isn't it? That'll change back soon.
soccer-wise, it will, yeah. They're talking about that all changing next year now, aren't they, or next season?
I think it's next season it's going to go, yeah. I mean, listen, I don't know if it stays the same for the US, I think, but for the actual club stuff, I think it changes back. I think that's what it is.
Not a huge study. You'll know this, mate, being in education. Was there not a huge study when they changed it before to the calendar year? I can't remember the figures, but it was something. Did they not lose? It's marked as 20% or something like that of kids playing because it meant they weren't playing with their
playing with
friends.
their mates.
Yeah. And your game just now as well. You know, you're doing that, as you were saying to me the other day, trying to get into the scouting and everything, and the whole relative age effect and the maturity of players and everything else that brings now is just.
Well,
that
that's
just
it.
brings
Like,
another whole nuance.
it's so funny when you look at it now. Like, you've got, we're looking at it's obviously 13s and 14s, 14s and 15s are the main tracking age. So you're looking like a Q1, which is January through March birthday in 2012 versus a Q4 is massive. Like, and it can be such a big difference. And you've got to be so mindful of it because. What does a Q4 look like versus a Q1? Some of these Q1s are massive. And then you look at Q4s.
It's a funny thing. I think we all seem to know about it, but we don't. Nobody seems to know how to solve the problem. The FIFA World Cup just now, the Under-20 World Cup, 41% of them are from the study that came out. 41% are from the first quarter.
Really?
And that, players. Yeah, only 13%, I think, from the last quarter.
It's crazy.
So people know about all these countries know about it. They know it's a problem. They know it, but it's so difficult to solve.
And that's it. Like, they miss out on it. They miss out on one, and then all of a sudden they just get lost in the mix again. Where a kid could have a little bit of a future. Just for perspective now as well. Like, to the point you said before, and you left me again another voicemail the other day, and it was the one about the kid asking you where you played when you were a youngster.
Yeah.
And he
so
said,
that probably leads
you played for Celtic.
That probably leads into two different voice notes, doesn't it, mate? And I used to use the analogy with pro players on courses of ladders. They might have reached the top of this ladder as a player, and they don't all expect, but they might have this expectation just to jump straight across and be a coach at that level of that ladder that they've been on. But the coaching ladder is different to the playing ladder. It's like snakes and ladders. They almost had to go down a snake and start to try and go up that coaching ladder as well. And I think you've experienced that, mate. I think that's a lot, again, what your podcast is about finding your ways in, different countries. So I'm experiencing a bit of a ladder just now. If I was at that kind of higher end, if you like, of coach education and national associations and governance and everything like that of soccer, football in Europe, then I've had to come down to the bottom of the ladder and start again. And there's nothing. Kids are just brilliant at it, aren't they? They just bring you right back down to earth, whether you like it or not. So we're standing. It was one of the kids that I'm talking about, under 16s, maybe just struggling a little bit with their last couple of results. And we're just standing chatting after the game. We're watching the next game after us. So that would have been the 2009s or whatever. We're standing watching. What were you doing, coach? What were you doing when you were our age? You were 15. I was playing with Celtic. Who are they? So you think about all those years ago and how chuffed you were and how proud you were of yourself that you'd made it to that level. Doesn't matter, damn me. So there's never mind a ladder. You're digging a hole at this point in time, just saying, is it in Scotland? Is that just a made up country? And you're just thinking, oh my god.
I know.
And that's just Zach, my youngest again. He had that in school. He says, one of his friends said in school, your accent's mad. What part of America is Scotland actually in?
Oh yeah.
So again, mate, yeah.
I know.
You're just trying to scramble. You're just trying to scramble and find a way, find an identity, and almost get your roots down, if you like.
It's just, again though, it's just about rolling with the punches, isn't it? Like, listen, you know where you've come from, you know what you've got, but it's being humble enough to just go with it, because people, again, football and in any walk of life, really, people would struggle with that. Why am I not? Why do people not know who I am? Why do people not know what I've done? Like, it's funny, right? So in teaching, I obviously teach in a high school and used to coach at that high school. I used to do the girls program as part of the role. And I stepped away from it a couple of years ago. But kids now don't, and there's a 4-year cycle gone through of kids through high school since I've been coaching.
Okay.
Like we did all right, successful. The teams were successful, won state tournaments and county stuff and recognition and whatnot. And kids now go, do you coach anything? And I'm like, no. Did you used to? Yeah, I was the girls' coach for a couple of years. Oh, they're really good. What did you coach? And I was like, well, I was running the program. They were like, all right, yeah. No idea. They don't care. No one cares. Like it's just you're as easily forgotten, just as easily as you're recognized. So I think the whole thing about humility is everything. Like you know what you've done, and I know you won't give yourself the pat on the back, and I'm the same as you. But you know, it's just you've just got to get on with it. And
I remember speaking to Ian Barker, who was that head of coaching education for United Soccer Coaches, and about the move, and Ian said, "You know what? When I left, there's an identity there that you can." And I was, don't be so silly, but I now know what he means. There's an identity there that you've given up. You know, I still get a lot of things through LinkedIn, and people get your number from different people. And Greg, can you help me get on this B license? And you're going, no, I can't. Sorry.
What about over here silly stuff? Like
silly stuff, mate.
Like we talk about laughing about the loans and
ice. I get slagged or I get laughed at every time we go and get something to eat. So you get your drink for your soda, your juice, as we would say. You get your drink, and I never put ice in it.
I never.
Why do you never put ice in it, Greg? So I can get more juice, but you get free refills here. So why do you not put ice in it? And I'm going, good point, but I don't know if that'll ever leave me. I always get laughed at that I never put the ice in. Even this morning, wake up in the morning, oh no, big horrible nail in the back tyre of the car. How much the hell is this going to cost me? Panic. So you drive to, you get, is it Le Schwab?
Oh, we haven't got that. We've got Mavis over here. Mavis Discount Tyres or something.
Well, for Le Schwab, if that's how you say it, is the quick fit of the UK. Do you get quick fit in England?
Aye, quick fit, yeah.
Quick fit, yeah. So that's the quick fit of California, if you like. So I go in, fearing the worst. And of course, typical American customer service, you're welcomed. Good morning, sir. How are you? How's your day been so far? Not great, because I've got a fucking nail stuck in the back tyre and I'm shitting myself about how much you're going to charge me. Don't you worry, sir. We'll get you on the road very quickly. They then ask you a million questions. I think she asked my inside leg measurement at one point, my BMI at another point. You get asked all that, so you go on the database, don't they? Sir, we'll look after your car. Just give me your car key. We'll look after it. You go and have a seat over there. There's free popcorn. There's free tea and coffee. There's a vending machine there if you want Coca-Cola or anything. Blah, blah, blah. And points me to a big comfy seat where I can sit and watch the telly. Oh, and by the way, they've got free Wi-Fi as well. And I'm thinking to myself, bloody hell, if I was back in Quick Fit just now, I'd have the big jacket on. I'd be freezing. The wind's whistling through that area, isn't it? Because the guys have all got the guys running in and out, taking a slug iron brew, swearing at each other because they can't get something or other fixed. They're probably hungover from the night before.
And there's no free popcorn.
Probably and I'm sitting eating popcorn, choking on my second bag of popcorn. Then somebody comes out, Mr. Paterson, yes, you get that Ford. Yeah, that's me. Is your tyre all fixed? All right, bro, what do you? You don't owe me a thing, sir. But what we would like you to consider is that you come to Le Schwab when you do need new tyres, because your tyres have got good tread in them. So, but I'd like you to consider us for the future. Of course I will consider you for the future, my friend. Just differences, night and day experiences.
That's madness. What about the 2-hour drive on the highway? How was that for you?
You know what? I love it. I don't love it so much when you get caught in between the two juggernauts and the people are undertaking and people are coming, the 5 highways. I think I heard you talk about that as well.
Undertaking over here is just a rite of passage. Like you just do it. Try and drive on a motorway without undertaking someone at home. It's murder because you can't, can you?
Never thought that, yeah.
Honestly, I do it all the time. Like I'll go back at Christmas and get me little hire car and I'll be driving up to Wigan and it'll be the same thing. No chance.
But your one as well about the turning right on red is just fantastic.
Oh, it's amazing.
Brilliant idea.
How have they not come up with that at home? Why wouldn't they do it?
But do you know why? I've got a theory. Because the lights here take forever. The light, don't they? They take forever because cars are whistling by you 80 miles an hour or whatever. They take forever. And here's another one. If you go into a shopping centre, we would call it a shopping precinct back home, wouldn't we? You know these big, you've got Buffalo Wild Wings, you've got a million things going on. If you take the wrong turn out of one of those places, it could cost you half an hour of your life.
Oh, it's curtains. It's like
Aye.
wait till you come. Have you ever been to New Jersey? Oh, you have, haven't you? If you miss your turning over here,
Oh,
you may as well just call out sick the next day.
it does. It costs you half an hour of your life. But the U-turns are great. That's another great thing.
Oh yeah, we do have them.
But then you can get caught sometimes because that junction's no U-turn and neither's that one. And as you say, you're away. You're 3 miles bloody down the road and need a petrol station so you can turn back.
It's so funny listening to someone who's so well travelled, yet has only been in America properly for 3 months and is coming across all the stuff that I've been going at for 20 odd years. Is hilarious, man.
Go and get yourself. Go and deliver a coach ed course in Egypt and see what they're like driving over there. That's a whole other ballgame. Lanes over there, they're just a suggestion. The lanes are
just suggested to be there. Yeah, I know Elk Grove was good just because you knew you had the contacts, you had everything else. Like, why is it the right landing spot for you? Is it the climate? Is it everything about it? Is it the vision of the club? Like, is it a project that you think I'll give this a go here? Like when you go down to, Dumfries and Galloway the first time you get back to Glasgow or the first time you get back to Scotland, and you think this is a project I want to get into. Like, is that why? Yeah, is that kind of why you wanted to do it?
I think Dumfries and Galloway is a different one because that's a different project at a different time in my life. I think, and hearing so many stories and seeing so many people back in Scotland, and I don't want to be disparaging to any other parts of the US here, but you hear about boys going to certain areas. I would then speak to Ian Barker, I would then speak to Andrew Donner, I would then speak to people I know. Such and such a person, without mentioning names, is going to such and such a place.
Right, that's good enough.
What the F are they doing going there? But people just see that US, but mate, the life you're leading is very different to the life I'm leading. Culturally, it can be so different from state to state, even within states, can be so different. So I think you're right. I think culturally, California was a good fit when the family came out. My wife liked it. She liked the climate. We liked the warmer weather. We liked the way of life. It's not Los Angeles, downtown Los Angeles is different. It's not the high rises and everything that you've got either here. It's a little bit more European in that regard. It's very multicultural as well. So, do you know what I mean? It was just a good fit. It was just a good fit career-wise.
Yeah.
I think that's yet to be seen. But again, it's just rolling with the punches and getting more embedded in the club and becoming more of a prominent figure in the club and being able to make a difference is, again, we're back to the romantic bit of it. But genuinely being able to make a difference to kids' lives and seeing them kick on to college and university.
Have you seen any differences early on? Like you talking about the scale of everything, about, driving 2 hours for games at the weekend, or the parents coming back to you and sending you nice stuff in emails. Like, have you seen that straight off the bat? Like the amount of parent involvement or the amount of travel, just the general scale of everything.
General scale of everything's mad, isn't it? And the amount of money that the parents will throw at it, rightly or wrongly, but that's just the way it is. And back to Malky and I, the first time we travelled over to a convention, that was the thing we came home with, was just bloody hell. They want to pay for education here. They didn't want to pay for education back home. They expected it to be free. Was that because schooling and universities and everything were free back home? I don't know. So it was always frowned upon that coach education is too expensive, but they don't look twice about it here. So taking that a bit further to the playing, yeah, they're more than willing to. I lost a player there in my 2013s because his family had flown him out to Atletico Madrid for 2 weeks. I understand why they do, because those college scholarships are so damn expensive. But as you mentioned earlier as well, that they're now competing against kids from Europe who are also willing to pay now. My wife's cousin, her son's now at an age, and I'm getting texts from him, "Oh, Greg, if we pay us $3,000, we'll be able to get him a placement in the US." And I'm going, but what kind of placement are you getting him? And by the way, he was never near an academy. He was just a grassroots footballer from home. So is that what the US kids now competing with? That's not fair.
No, it's so that, I mean, we could have a whole podcast about that. Like, and I know people that do it, and I know some people that do a good job, but I also know a lot of people who are just the money. It's just another money making scheme. A guy who's nowhere near an academy back home, how's he going to come over here and play? And what's he going to actually do? And because they all say, "Oh, we'll guarantee you a deal." Yeah, but they could be in, like, and again, no disrespect to these places, but they could be in the arse end of Nebraska, in the middle of nowhere, and someone goes, "Well, we got you the deal. You paid for it."
But yeah, you hear about all these people coming back, mate, but just because they don't enjoy their experience in the US, but because they've been an arse, end up somewhere.
Like, you've got to know. I think that's why it's important to keep get as many connections as you can, find out as much information as you can. And like, to your point before about the stuff about keeping in touch with America, it's so easy now to have an idea of what things look like. If you really wanted to go and look at a place, you could go on a map. You could go on MapQuest, plonk your little, avatar and just walk around town on your computer. And not ashamed to say that I've done that a number of times, but just so I know where I'm going. But it's true. Like, and I don't think people realize that. But
it's funny because I don't know what you were like, maybe different when you came over. It took me a little bit of time to go over that. People making money out of the grassroots game, that's not right. Back home it's free. And I was challenged very early on here. What do you know about the game, by a parent? What do you know about the game here? Well, quite a lot, actually. But you come from an environment where everything's free. We pay for this, so therefore we're allowed an opinion about how you coach our son. And then you tell them, I think it's good if your son goes to get beat. No, Greg, no, it's not. What? He's got to learn. He's got to learn how to cope with defeat. He can't go through a whole youth career without getting beat. That's a good thing.
yeah.
So there's all those, you're right, all those differences.
Find it difficult that when I first came over, and I don't know what it looks like at Elk Grove. I'm not sure. I don't want to say that I know everything about that club, but there used to be a recreation level in town.
Yeah.
And like every kid could play at that level. It was like, you'd pay like, I don't know, at the time, probably $70 a season. You'd get a little kit. You'd turn up on a Saturday. They'd put you in different games. You'd have little sessions and the coaches would come and help out, and then that'll be it. Then it was like the better kids in that town had a travel team. And then the better kids out of that town who were better than that played on an elite team. And then the best kids went to play for the regional stuff, like whatever that was. But now everything has jumped a level. So those people who are paying $75 are now paying $500. The ones who are paying $500 for the travel team going around the local towns, they're now paying $5,000 to go on these elite level teams, which, say.
And then you get elite gold, and you've got elite premium, and you've got so many levels, and you're just
and now they brought out MLS Next 2, which again is just a rebrand of the same kids. Like it's just everyone's out to scout. And then back to the thing we talked about at the beginning, the travel agencies get on it now because there's tournaments everywhere, so they're making a hand over fist. Like it's just like you said, the money involved, and that ultimately I think that's why it's flawed over here.
And I feel sorry for even, what was I trying to organise? We had a Ghost Games tournament later in the month. And everybody goes and everybody dresses up and they play their games, and that's fine, that's great. Brilliant for the kids. But then I'm thinking, we're going to these Ghost Games tournament, but the kids need to buy, or the parents need to buy the fancy dress. So there's another cost. And then we've got a free weekend from MLS Next, and I say to the parents, do you fancy going a friendly? No, really, Greg, because it's more cost. I get that. Whereas back home, you just organise a friendly and away you go.
Just to wrap it up, right? All these stories are brilliant, and it does put a little bit of light on your journey. And I know we could go on for ages, but
good.
You talk about reflecting on the podcast that you did the first time, and then now giving a little bit more context to your journey. And it's clear that, and I said this to you before, like development or progression in careers is not linear. It's a journey of ups and downs and windy roads and everything else. But what sort of things would you say to people who are thinking about moving?
To go for it, just to go for it and make it work. And sometimes things aren't going to be great. You might need to go through a tough couple of years. And, I spoke about landing with 10 bags. You speak about, landing in places as well where you don't know what you think you know. Although you might have forgotten as much as other people you're working with have. But yeah, just to go for it, but being open-minded enough again. But it's not necessarily going to be easier either. The grass isn't always greener. I can't get my rolling square slice that we spoke about, but I can get a buffalo wing instead, right enough. But I don't know if I've got any. I'm probably struggling to answer this question, mate, because I don't know if I've got any silver bullet answer. I think it's just that open-mindedness and, just trying your best and making things work. I remember saying who was it? I remember someone saying that about marriages before. You know, and when that you go through that phase of having kids, it's difficult. It's meant to be bloody difficult because the kids aren't sleeping at night, which means you're up, which means you've got to go to work in the morning and you're ratty, you've maybe not eaten well, and so on and so forth. And then people just go, do you know what, the marriage isn't working. It might not have been that the marriage wasn't working, it's just that there's other things going on, and that's pretty damn similar to this. There's a million other things going on. I think research and knowing what you're going into is good rather than just doing it blind, as we spoke about.
Is there something to saying yes to something, even when you're not 100%?
Yeah, and just figuring it out along the way, you mean?
Yeah, just like I know, and I'll take the club in Melbourne as an example. Do you ever look back at that and go, maybe I should have said yes, or was that one you're like, nah, at the time?
I didn't know enough at the time. It was the right decision at the time. Didn't know enough, but because
But again, that's you. But that's you with the information, though, isn't it? That's you with the information there as well, and you've made that choice based on the information that you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. What do you reckon football's given you most up to this point?
Football's given me everything. It's given me my wife, because I met my wife through my mate who was playing football, who's now my brother-in-law. It's given me the roof over my head. It's given me everything. Football is as romantic and as flowery as it sounds. It's given me absolutely everything in my life. Yeah. And now to see my two boys so embroiled in it as well, it's just, it's very, there's a lot of grey lines in my life, mate, because it's where work ends and where recreation, if you like, starts, and where my kids are involved and everything. But I'm not one, I'm kind of losing the love of sitting down and watching a game, you know, and Dylan and I actually spoke about this recently. It's like I actually said to him, I find some games boring. Thank God you said that, Greg. I'm exactly the same. Good. Because I thought it was weird saying that. But sometimes you just want to kind of take the brain out and watch an entertaining game of football, but you can't because it's so overcoached at times.
Yeah, you're so dialed into what's going on. Think about what's the importance of the relationships that you've made along the way. Think about professional relationships, working relationships, like everything. Like value that over, you know, not necessarily over knowledge, but over, you know, status and whatnot.
The relationships are the top. And back to my old job as well, I remember, Greg, what's taking up all your time? Relationship management was always my answer. I always felt it was just so important. If I think my good mate now as well, Phil Abbott, who's director of Academy Soccer Coach that you might know, and like Phil did, or Academy Soccer Coach, I should say, did a hell of a lot for us at the Scottish FA. The only reason they did a hell of a lot for us was because we managed that relationship with them. We managed that relationship with so many different people, and that allowed, I think, the Scottish FA to be successful, certainly in coach education terms. And I've just been like that throughout my life. You know, I just think relationships are key to everything. You know, we built a fifth bedroom up the stairs because we had a big bedroom and we could basically cut it in two. But again, I couldn't afford to have done it, but there's a couple of guys at the club helped me to do it. A couple of really good guys at the club helped me to do it because why? Because you've got a good relationship with them.
Yeah.
It's everything. I genuinely believe that. And again, it's what we said in the first podcast as well. It's that knowing the person better than knowing the game. Having good relationships with people is far better than, experiences. And don't get me wrong, you need the knowledge, you need the experience. But the relationships definitely help you along the way.
It's that old quote. I always go on about this quote. We have it all the time. That Maya Angelou, where like people won't remember what you did, but they'll remember how you made them feel. And it stands to reason with this, doesn't it, as well? Because, like, again, someone might pick the phone up 10 years down the line and, you know, hey, it's such and such a body. Is there any chance you can just, you know, point me in the right direction for this or help me out with this or how you doing or whatever it is? And you'll always give the person time of day just because they were nice to you at that one point or they did the right thing by you or themselves. Yeah.
People that have given me a chance just through... And see, you get so busy in life, mate, don't you? You get so busy in life and you're maybe the same in a school environment. I used to get countless letters for student placements and everything else like that. And I used to think, because it can be a hell of a lot of work, but if people never gave me those experiences in student placements, then I wouldn't be where I am today. And you're ended up so grateful for. And then people have given you a leg up in different ways and helped you in different ways.
Yeah. I've had people over here that I can think of that have really pushed me or help me or just give me a bit of a, you know, either a kick up the arse or a lift in the right direction. It's definitely helped me out along the way. But yeah.
Definitely.
No, mate, listen, this was good again.
Sorry to keep you for so long. I hope people are
No,
still listening at this point. They might have all switched off or fell asleep. But
that's what I said to a few people. It's a good sleeping tablet if you need it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, let's save it before the drug companies will be coming after us because we'll put this podcast out and it'll be key because we're sending them to sleep. All right, mate. Thanks a lot. Take it easy. Speak to you soon,
mate.
right?
Take care. Speak to you soon. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, mate.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to today's episode. If you or someone you know has a story to share, we'd love to hear from you. Reach out to us via our socials or visit www.crossingthepondpodcast.com to get in touch. Please be sure to subscribe, like, or leave a comment if you can. Thanks so much for listening, and we'll see you next time.
The Cross Pond Podcasting.